Ladies and lads, the Fortnite Chapter 1 Rewind has been around for about a week, and if you can't tell by the 5 o'clock shadow, I've been playing it as much as I possibly can. This OG Rewind has not only brought back the Chapter 1 map, but also a whole loot pool of old items and many OG cosmetics as well. This move has increased the attention around Fortnite dramatically, with many OG players and content creators returning, and mainstream newsprints taking notice for those free, easy impressions from Fortnite. But more important than any of those is the actual player base, which has increased to record numbers, almost tipping 5 million concurrent players on the day of release. And according to Epic Games, they reached over 50 million individual sign-ins on the day. These are player counts that managed to rival the highs of peak Fortnite many years ago. But if player numbers are surging and mainstream interest has been renewed in the game, why are there some longtime content creators and streamers that are so underwhelmed, so disappointed with this OG Rewind? Well, as a genuine day one OG and someone who's put many hours into this current update since its release, I think I can properly communicate the issues that they have with the current state of the game. And to be quite clear, I too am a little disappointed. Now, before you flame me in the comments, let me explain. Or maybe flame me in the comments first so that I get a little bit more algorithmic juice. Probably the first major point of contention is that this supposed OG season isn't really OG Fortnite at all. Technically, we have only rewound to the Chapter 1 Season 5 map, which is the first season that we saw a biome change on the true original map. That of course being the desert area home to the Crown Jewel Paradise Palms, the only true competition to Tilted Towers. And as much as I do enjoy landing here, this sun-baked wasteland did in fact replace an earlier biome, a more primordial swampland known as Moisty Mire, which itself had undergone 4 entire seasons worth of updates before finally drying up. And if you're a real OG, you're gonna have some nostalgia for that Moisty Mire's prison, and unfortunately, there is not a Moisty Mire's prison in this OG Rewind. Starting in Season 5 also means the inclusion of Lazy Links over Anarchy Acres. And while I enjoy the variety of having a golf course over 2 separate farm areas, there is definitely a more experienced energy in the design style of Lazy Links. We've also begun this OG season with the iconic Tomato Town already destroyed in its Tomato Temple form. How funny it is that people have been memeing the classic Fortnite jam Chug Jug With You, of which the lyrics are literally 6 kills on the board right now, just wiped out Tomato Town. Sadly, only the true OGs are gonna understand the feeling behind those lyrics, and whoever made that song is never gonna return home again. There's also the rather odd exclusion of perhaps the most iconic building in all of Fortnite Chapter 1. That being the centerpiece building of Tilted Towers, aka Big Bertha, aka Trump Tower, aka Nick Merck's stomping ground. This single building was the birthplace of many Chapter 1 legends and storylines. And now it's been replaced with a building that was voted on by the community during a creative contest a year ago in Chapter 3. To briefly explain, a cataclysmic event destroyed much of Tilted Towers, which had returned to the Chapter 3 map thanks to multiversal shenanigans. Luckily, the buildings were insured, so the owner in storyline built again in a more modern style. And yes, I did say buildings, because there were 3 buildings that actually got destroyed and rebuilt during this event. And 2 of them have made it onto the current OG map, replacing Big Bertha and its adjacent building. That makes the Tilted Towers that we currently have a definitively non-OG version of the drop spot. And on top of that, it's only going to be around for a couple weeks until the Neo Tilted update arrives towards the end of this OG season. And that's another problem people are taking with this Chapter 1 update. The 30-day mini-season not only plays heavily on audience FOMO, but it also means that the individual seasons of Chapter 1 aren't going to get the time they need to really shine on an individual basis. The current loot pool is actually a perfect example of this, as it's just a jumble of all the best hits from the entire first year of Fortnite. And while this can lead to some pretty interesting loadouts and strategies, it also ends up in many situations where you don't get the things that you need for basic survival. Shield items in particular are very hard to come by, which is partially a symptom of having too many items in the loot pool, but also down to the fact that the Chapter 1 map has less loot on it overall. Simply put, Chapter 1 is where Epic Games hone the Fortnite formula, And it's also the chapter in which player skill increased the fastest and most dramatically. Subsequent maps were designed to be much more balanced, with a higher loot density and more fair layout between the POIs. And of course, they all had a much higher variety of healing items. We also can't forget about skill-based matchmaking and AI players, which is something that really only came about in Chapter 2 of Fortnite. That means that if you're a true OG player, or even a player with many play hours, you're gonna end up in lobbies that are harder, which means you're gonna take more damage and run out of healing items much more often. As a true Day 1 Season 1 OG player, I can definitively tell you that your lobbies feel nothing like OG Fortnite. And that's because OG Fortnite was the Wild West. There was no skill-based matchmaking, no ranked mode, and not even any official tournaments for a few seasons after launch. Fortnite Battle Royale had no incentive to protect lesser skilled players, as the Battle Royale mode was seen by Epic Games as a loss leader for their story mode, known as Save the World. The gameplay of Battle Royale was simply meant to sell the building mechanics of the campaign to a more casual audience. Only the most dedicated of players bought skins initially and actually put money into the game, which made Epic Games cater more towards them at the beginning. And the Renegade Raiders and Skull Troopers were feared and respected by the entire player base. Fast forward half a decade and gaming is now in the engagement era, where getting good at a PvP game isn't rewarded with better statistics or metrics, but it instead forces you into a smaller and exponentially higher pressurized box of equally talented players, with the purpose of trying to keep you at some arbitrarily decided statistical average. To compensate for the ever smaller pool of players relative to you, AI designed to mimic players are put onto the map to decrease queue times. But we have to remember that this is a bell curve effect, and less skilled or newer players get pretty much the same kind of lobbies, and in fact often achieve higher win rates and kill-death ratios than more experienced players, simply by virtue of having a higher density of AI in their lobbies. Meanwhile, the average player is robbed of a sense of true progression, as they never truly dominate another player and are never really dominated, so they're not incentivized to get better by seeing more talented players, or rewarded for their time spent playing by killing other players easier. Slowly, the player base becomes more toxic, and they stop feeling admiration for more talented players, while also flexing statistics and results that were achieved only by being in lower skilled lobbies. And perhaps I've stumbled upon one of the roots of why creators and players are so disappointed with this Fortnite OG Rewind. And it's that in the few short years since its game's debut, gaming has completely changed. And so too have our attitudes as gamers. In the beginning, we played the game with a almost childlike wonder, and victories were a highly sought after prize to be earned, which meant actually learning the ins and outs of the game and honing your skills. But this process always acts as a filter, causing some players to quit due to lack of skill or diminishing interest. And for publicly traded companies like Epic Games, interest is everything. So everything suddenly became about creating an engaging product more so than a fun one. Though understand, these aren't always mutually exclusive paths. That's why it was decided by a committee that the first 5 seasons of Chapter 1 would all be smashed together into the initial update. This is why the true OG map was completely ignored, because some focus group somewhere simply didn't engage with it on a deep enough level. Damn, dude. Oh, what a hard match. Just no movement. No movement on that guy. Yep, right there. Don't throw it. Oh, he threw it. No, he fell. No. No, Lizard Man. Oh, he almost clutched that, bro. I'm sad. I'm sad for that guy. GG's. What a lobby. This is why better players have harder lobbies, and tournaments have been consistently shrinking in prize pool since Chapter 1. To the mind of Epic Games, these are the core players. They're never gonna leave. They're never gonna stop engaging with Fortnite. And so catering to them is no longer really good for business. But despite all this, I'm still enjoying this very short trip down memory lane. Ultimately, the people that are disappointed with this event are in a statistical minority among the player base. And it's over rather esoteric reasons that the modern Fortnite player simply won't understand. Fortnite as a game trends rather young, so a middle schooler playing this Chapter 1 flashback today could have been a kindergartner when my OG squad was dropping into the Moisty Myers prison and creating lifelong memories. I think many pros and content creators tend to forget this while getting caught up in their own desires for what Fortnite could have been possibly at some point in time in the past. Ooh, that heavy shotgun kind of betrayed me right there, but we got it. You can never truly experience Fortnite Chapter 1 for the first time ever again. But I implore you not to rob yourself of this once-in-a-lifetime nostalgic experience by comparing current trends of gaming to a long-ago past. A past which a vast majority of gamers don't even have a true memory of. Instead, I recommend simply enjoying the ride, having fun, hopping on the wave, get your OG squad together and drop in yourselves, because this is only going to be here for a single month, and I highly doubt that Epic Games is ever going to do something like this again. Who knows if Fortnite will even be relevant in 5 more years? We can't see the future, but what I think you should do is comment down below what you thought of this video. What did you want from Fortnite's OG Rewind? Are you satisfied with what we have here? What are you looking forward to in the future? There's so many things to discuss in gaming and with Fortnite in particular, and I would love to talk about them. But of course, that's it for this video. For my part, I'm going to be playing this game all season. There's going to be videos, lives, clips, so be sure to like and subscribe and share this with someone you love.